I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. After high school, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I had pretty good grades. I went to University of Texas in Austin, where I studied biology. I got a bachelor's degree in biology. At one point, I was interested in going to dental school and becoming a dentist, but that didn't pan out. After biology degree and graduating from UT Austin, wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. So one of the options was teaching, and I actually did work as a substitute teacher while I was in college, going back every break that I had, going back to San Antonio. So I was substitute teaching all grades from high school down to special needs to elementary, and that was fun. That's enjoyable. However, after that, I ran into a friend of mine who was attending medical technology school, and I wasn't quite sure what medical technology was at the time. So he explained to me, lab work, clinical laboratory work, and I looked into that somewhat, and I applied for the school, and I got accepted. I went to University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston, Texas. During the time that I was in college, I was working as a F-16 mechanic in the Air National Guard as a reserves. So I spent some time doing that, and I got a feel for, at least a taste for, the military life. However, I wanted to do something different. So the F-16 mechanic job was different from the medical technology job. And I started looking into the military as an option and possibilities, not realizing that the military actually offers many opportunities for the healthcare professions. They have this, at the time back in 1990, they have this job called the clinical laboratory officer. And having done my schooling and graduated with medical technology, I wasn't quite sure what a clinical lab officer did. So I guess you could say I joined somewhat blindly. I applied for the Air Force and the Army. I got accepted for both, and I had to wait until they had an opening for me to come in and do the job as a clinical laboratory officer. So I waited about a year. In the meantime, I worked at a hospital in San Antonio at Santa Rosa Children's Hospital in the microbiology section. That's my favorite specialty in the laboratory field, and I spent most of my time working. When I did work as a civilian, I worked in microbiology laboratories. So the Army came up first. They offered me the position. They said they had one ready for me if I was still interested. However, I still hesitated with the Army. I really wanted to just go in the Air Force. So I went to the Air Force recruiter to find out if they had anything coming up. And at that point, it was nothing yet. So that's how I ended up choosing, I guess, not much of a choice when it's only one, and joined the military in the Army. During this time, however, I never did quite find out what a clinical lab officer did. So again, I blindly came in and figuring out what the military had to offer. After my first assignment, I got a good feel for what a clinical laboratory officer was doing in the military. And in the civilian world, we're called laboratory managers. So we're the administrators for the laboratories in all the healthcare labs. The military has given me the opportunity to travel all over the world, literally. So we started off at Fort Sill in Oklahoma. After doing 4 or 5 years at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, we moved on to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, where my 2 oldest kids were born. So after spending 4 years at Fort Leonard Wood, and most of in Missouri, there's primarily outdoors area. There wasn't so many large cities out there, but a lot of outdoors, a lot of outdoor activities. I like fishing and the sports, so that was a great place for me and the family. Then we moved out to Germany, where we did a lot of exploring in all the different countries of Europe and everything that they have to offer, traveling to even up to Egypt and Greece as well, and being able to see those places. And pretty much like you see in the movies, that's what we got while we were out there. It was just beautiful scenarios, amazing sights, all the old castles that have been there since 10,000 AD and then some, and still going strong. And then after Heidelberg, Germany, coming back to San Antonio, where I went to school for my master's degree, and that's another opportunity that the military provides, additional schooling free of charge for us. So I got my master's degree while I was at Fort Sam through Baylor University, and then we moved out to Fort Jackson in South Carolina, where we did 4 years there. After Fort Jackson, I went back to Brooke Army Medical Center, back to Fort Sam, Houston, in San Antonio, Texas. I did the lab manager job there at Brooke Army Medical Center for 3 years, after which we then relocated to Hawaii, where we spent 3 years in Hawaii, again managing the laboratory at Triple Army Medical Center. After that 3 years, then we moved once again to where I'm at right now, which is Fort Hood in Texas. The experiences that we got here in Fort Hood, obviously one of the things that we got was building a brand new hospital. So I've been able to bring my experience to bear in helping us move and transition the laboratory from where we were into the new facility, bringing new technology and leading edge equipment that we currently have to be able to serve our patients. After 26 years of doing this job, one has to start thinking about doing something different, and retirement is already closer than what I expect. In addition, with the military, the way it works is if you keep progressing, if you get promoted, then you keep moving on. However, if at a certain point, if you are not able to get promoted any further, then the military has this thing called mandatory retirement. So even though you may want to stay in order to give more opportunities for others that are up and coming in the military as well, then they start making us trying to start looking at something different. So retirement is definitely something that's looming in the very near future for me. And it is kind of scary because I'm not quite sure what's out there, number one. Number two is, after having done this for so many years, it's very difficult to even imagine life without doing what I do right now. And as far as what other opportunities I might have, well, the good thing is that, you know, we're blessed with the skills that the Army has given us, as well as the education. So there are plenty of opportunities for laboratory managers or medical technologists, which is really what my professional title is, to be able to get employment, whether it be with other facilities, other hospitals, other labs, or even with the vendors or companies that produce laboratory equipment. And that, I think, is something that I'm currently looking into. And it's been a very good career. I have absolutely no regrets. If I was to do it over again, I would probably do it sooner than what I did, knowing what I know now. And it's been a great 26 years.